I have a very trending topic for you today. How does media coverage affect sexual assault cases? Over the years, I've done so many defenses of sexual assault matters, and a lot of these have been published in the papers and the media, and the clients say, how is this possible that my name's constantly in the paper? And I have to explain to the client, look, there's freedom of the press and freedom of speech in Canada, so this is unfortunately, for you at least, allowed. Certainly I value freedom of speech, but the client doesn't understand it because their life's being essentially ruined, they're being tried in the media. And how does this affect, especially if it's a high-profile person who's very out in the media? It's one thing to have a couple articles. It's another thing to have it running in major news outlets every day of the week and on TV. In public opinion, it essentially becomes a trial of public opinion because a lot of people assume once it's in the media that people are guilty. So that's very bad for a client, of course, especially if it's a truly innocent client. We're all presumed innocent, but there are truly innocent people charged with sexual assault in the country too. We have to all concede and admit that because there's actually been miscarriages of justice which have shown that. And I know as a defense lawyer that there are people who are falsely accused. There's no question. There's many, many people who are legitimately and truthfully accused. I'm sure the majority are in sexual assault, but let's not mince words. There are falsely accused people, and that's why we all have the right. Now, once it's in the media, boy, there's not much you can do about that to control that, and the public's going to think what they're going to think, but I mean, they're probably all going to think you're guilty just because you're published in the paper, right? Some people have that thinking, others don't, and people who know the criminal justice system know enough to keep an open mind that you can simply make it, like I could go down to the police station, accuse my neighbor of an assault and be convincing and get them charged just like that based on my word. Similarly, a woman can go to the police and claim she was raped when she wasn't, and if she's convincing, will be charged. Now, I'm sure the vast, vast majority, high percentage of sexual assault victims are truthful, but we have our system of justice for the truly innocent, don't we? Everyone's presumed innocent. Better to acquit 1,000 people than let one innocent man get convicted. Let 1,000 guilty people go free. That's the nature of our justice system. So getting back to the question at hand, you've got a situation now where, God, it's in the media, it's been all over the country, you've got a high profile client. What do you do? Well, there's a couple of things you can do in our criminal justice system. First of all, in a case like that, you can elect judge and jury or judge alone. You might want to consider a judge alone trial if that's viable, because a jury could be tainted with bias because they've been constantly reading about it. But certain situations cry out for a jury trial. You may want to have a jury trial anyway. But judges are supposed to be unbiased, and they are for the large part. But let's face it, we're all human beings, and even a judge who's been reading the media, there can be some subtle subconscious bias. I'm sure if I was a judge, for example, and I've been reading about a case for a year, it has to affect you somehow psychologically deep down. Although with the legal knowledge and skills that a judge has, you're supposed to completely put that aside. And they do, by the way, but there's always some psychological effect there, isn't there? There has to be. Now, with respect to the jury, what you can do on a high-profile case, if the media has been concentrated in a particular city, for example, Toronto, you could apply for a change of venue on a high-profile case, and because you want to find a jury pool, if you elect a judge and jury, of jurors who are going to be as unbiased as possible. So we've seen cases like that recently in the paper, cases transferred from Toronto to London for particular reasons of lesser bias, less media representation. The other thing you can do, and what's done in jury trials, is the judge will caution the jury about pretrial publicity, put it aside, don't be biased, don't believe what you read in the paper, you've got to put it out of your mind and be impartial. Myself as a lawyer as well, we've brought applications for pretrial publicity, which is a challenge for cause, which means when you're selecting the jury, there's particular questions that are asked of each juror about media coverage and whether they still feel they can be impartial or unbiased. And the judge is the trier of fact on this and will ask the questions. And depending on the juror's reaction, they may be excused from the jury because they go, well, I can't put it aside, or I can put it aside. But, let's face it, Not everyone tells the truth under oath. You could get a jury who says, "Oh, I can put it aside," and they've already maybe made a decision that your client's guilty, and that's the big fear in these particular cases. But again, I have great faith in the jury system, and I think people ultimately, when they hear a charge from the jury, from the judge, I mean, about what the law is, that most people are able to put it aside and realize, hey, the press is the press. They're just outlining allegations. Allegations have not been proven in a court, and a jury system, I'm a great believer in electing judge and jury despite pretrial publicity and despite the possibility of bias. But it's unfortunate for a client who's had very high publicity when you've got a arguably possibly tainted jury pool, because you hope those jurors will answer truthfully when you challenge from the cause and ask, are you biased because of this prior incident? So those are some of the things you can do. Unfortunately, it's trial by public media. It kind of ruins your reputation, but you still get a fair trial in Canada. I'm fully convinced of that, despite extensive publicity on high profile or even minor cases where the media has got a lot of attention on it. So it's an interesting topic. It's a trending topic, and there's no right or wrong answer. But we have freedom of the press and public. But my God, there's people's lives who are ruined. The smaller percentage of men who are or women who are truthfully innocent. Can you imagine having your life ruined by the media? There's nothing they can do about it, essentially, is there? Thank you for watching our video. We are absolutely committed to bringing you the best possible criminal and DUI educational videos. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've been charged with a criminal offense in Ontario and require our services, please click on the link in the description below.